Hello everybody, welcome to Monday Morning Must Knows. My name is Merlin Rothfeld. Here are 3 important things to pay attention to for the upcoming trading week. Now, as we've been talking about for the past several weeks, and pretty much every Monday Morning Must Knows, there's a lot of earnings announcements happening, so let's start right there. This week we've got 1,135 companies, so a lot of names, but a lot of them aren't the big stuff. We've got a few important ones. So let's start things off for our Monday session by looking at, well, you got PayPal, The Trade Desk, and TripAdvisor. Tuesday brings you Aurora Cannabis, the electric car darling NIO, and Wynn. Wednesday brings you Disney and the original creator of the drive-thru, Wendy's Restaurants. Thursday, we've got Applied Materials and Alcor Metal. It's always a tough one for me to pronounce, but that's a giant steel company. And then Friday, usually a very light day, and it is this week, we have AstraZeneca. That is your basic earnings announcements coming out. So some of those might be in your portfolio. Be careful. You never know if those are going to be impacted to the upside, downside. Probably as a risk management perspective, just stay and watch those ones and don't trade them. All right, now let's move on to something that might be even more important. Of course, we've heard Jerome Powell and the Fed talking about inflation. Inflation, of course, has been rearing its head, and we've heard last week about Jerome Powell saying, look, inflation is really, getting a little bit higher than expected. Well, is it? We've seen these numbers kind of flip-flop back and forth. Last month when we had our PPI and CPI numbers, they started to creep closer together. Now they're coming in pairs this week, so let's take a look at our calendar. The inflation side of things starts things off on Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with Producer Price Index. And as you might remember, Producer Price Index is what it costs manufacturers to make a specific basket of goods and services. Now, of course, if those costs rise, they pass it on to that's right, you and me. That's what inflation is. The second side of this is looking at CPI, which of course is how they pass it on to us, and that announcement will be happening Wednesday at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time as well. This is a very important couple of announcements because Jerome Powell, again, last week made a very specific point about inflation, and really it seems like the stance of Fed policy is focusing on two things. It's going to be unemployment and inflation. Those two things are in their mandates, so we'll see how that pans out on Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. Now, finally, we're going to bring you to one that maybe is slightly different, and of course, for those of you who are Forex traders, you're going to love this. We talked on last week's Monday Morning Must Knows about the US dollar and how it kind of formed a double bottom. It's been making some higher highs and higher lows, thus the classic definition of an uptrend. Therefore, there might be some opportunities with the dollar. Well, we received a bunch of questions from you viewers saying, hey, well, how do we capitalize on that? Well, certainly we could be looking at the macroeconomic impacts on the equity markets, but let's take a different peek at Forex. Now, if you look at this chart here of the euro, you can see that really for the better part of all of 2020, it wasn't a nice uptrend, but since 2021, we've seen a change of pace. All of a sudden, we're starting to see a series of lower highs and lower lows. And right now, at this moment, kind of forming a little bit of a double bottom. And if we're to look at the picture of the British pound, it's identical to this, right? Both showing tremendous weakness, lower highs, lower lows, which means there might be an opportunity for a short trade on the euro or the pound if the dollar continues its strength to the upside. Remember, as the dollar gets stronger, the euro and the pound will most likely get weaker. And as we look at this chart of the euro, you'll notice on the left-hand side there's not a lot of really strong demand zones. So if it does break current levels, there might be some great shorting opportunities, not only in the euro or the British pound, but other currencies as well. Remember, as that US dollar gains strength, most likely the other currencies, including the Japanese yen, the British pound, all these different ones may be showing weakness and therefore providing us some great trading opportunities. Now, we've covered a few different topics here, all of which may present some trading opportunities, but that, my friends, is your Monday Morning Must Knows. We'll see you next week.